Thank you. Welcome. For today, I want to show you a little bit more about the BIMcollab ecosystem and how it can improve and empower your projects. We understand at BIMcollab that everyday projects depend on a structured team communication and collaboration in order to meet the challenges for construction projects. Communication is key in different types of phases of projects. Design teams have to communicate well, as do the engineering and the construction teams. And there is also interaction between these different phases and teams as well. If you look at the challenges that projects today have, it's also related to BIM implementation. So a lot of projects are now depending also on tools that assist them in every one of those steps, design, engineering, and construction. And we see a growing use of these new tools. As complex as projects can be, there are different teams, each with their different discipline, experience, responsibilities, and expertise, using whatever software they feel fit for their specific tasks. It might not be the same for everyone, but the teams, they have different points of view. Even they can be using a sort of VR to get a good understanding of projects and problems. They might look at dashboards or quantities for the project to be able to get it across the finish line. If you look at how communication is documented, we feel that the efficiency of teams is highly dependent on a streamlined workflow. If you look at the traditional methods, then we see that review meetings can be done. Tends to be used, or Excel could be used to document specific issues from those meetings, getting their comments back. And as you can see on the screen, this might evolve very quickly. So communication about status, responsibility, some approval of solutions. And this usually is up to the project team to put into one coherent document. And it's not a one-time thing, it's recurring during the life cycle of the project. And of course, there's always a sort of inherent risk if everything is put together correctly. If you look further, we see that there are different tools in use. If you look at the BIM modeling tools, they create the models, work in progress. They can be combined within other tools like BIM checking tools. And it will also be wise to have a sort of structured communication and coordination platform attached to that. So how well they interact with each other is also part of the success of projects. So how does BIMcollab help here? First of all, we have our cloud repository where issues and communication can be channeled through. So it's accessible for all team members on projects to log in from a web browser and view all the current topics. We have a connection for integration with different types of tools in this process. So you can interact with the issues directly in applications. And we also have a companion desktop validation tool, BIMcollab Zoom, who can check models and also report results back to the BIMcollab cloud. And on top of that, we have common data environment integrations so that your models that are stored on those platforms can also be viewed online on the BIMcollab platform for context and also creating and responding to issues. So what is an issue for BIMcollab? If you look at this picture, an issue can have a number, it can have a topic title, it can have descriptions, and also very importantly, it can be assigned to a team member for responsibility at that given time in the process. On top of that, we have BIM viewpoints, which actually locate issues and even it can show the components that are linked to those conflicts or issues. On top of that, we have other attributes like priorities, milestones, types, labels, comments, and even areas and custom fields if you need those in your processes. So what does this empower? Issues can be created in different types of software. So maybe for checking, you can use any of the tools that we connect with, and they all will have the same viewpoint of that specific topic. If we move further, you can also transfer those issues through our cloud system to any of the connected modeling tools, and they all look and see the same exact viewpoint. This creates, of course, better understanding and context for anything that has been communicated. I also want to discuss the availability for BIMcollab for many different scenarios. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of plugins or integrations with different tools within projects. So the most commonly used are already on our platform with a direct link. And we already have more than 25 connections at this time and continuously increasing this number. All of these plugins can directly be downloaded for free from our website for your specific application and version. So I talked about different scenarios. So this integration allows us to apply to many different scenarios, like maybe a Navisworks Revit setup or a Revit to Revit communication, or even further, Solibri Revit, Solibri ArchiCAD, ArchiCAD Revit. So in this example, you see that there's a lot of interaction possible with BIMcollab, and it even opens the door to incorporate several different applications that you might not even be using at this point. So the chances are high that any of these scenarios will apply to projects that you are running yourself. If you are not yet integrated, it's also very good to know that we build our system on open standards from the Building Smart Alliance. This is the BIM collaboration format as a basis. So if your software supports this open standard, you can also export and import directly from our cloud platform and also interact that way, be it in a somewhat stepped approach. But of course, you can still contribute very nicely. So for the next part, I want to give you a demonstration of the process seen from different angles or different roles within a project, a typical project. And I will start with the project leader who sets up the BIMcollab Cloud project, invites users, and adds some project issue parameters for that specific project and team. So in order to do this, I will switch to my login screen on a web browser and enter my credentials to access the cloud environment. I will not create this from scratch. I already set up this project. And as you can see on the settings page, I have quite a large team with different people involved. I can group them together, give them specific roles on the project, which also relates to specific user rights. And if that's set up, the people get automated notifications on how to access the project on your account. On top of this, you can set some specific attributes, like for instance, milestones, give them start and end dates, so that they will also that you will also be able to very structuredly attack all of the issues that are raised on your project. There's of course more. You can have location parameters like areas. You can define labels for the different disciplines or trades, categories for issues, priorities can be set, even grouping some of the users on projects. And it's also possible to create your own customized approach, creating your value of choice, even have the values to be selected on issues predefined as well. Let's connect some of the modeling teams. In this example, I will be using the structural engineer, which I have also invited on my project. And the first step that he or she needs to take is, of course, to take advantage of our free plugins to connect to BIMcollab and the BCF workflow. So on our website, you can go to the download section, install your favorite application plugin, and then connect to the project with the credentials that you received from the notifications. After that, you can simply add and receive the issues, edit them and create issues, and also communicate with the rest of the team. So for this, I will quickly jump to my Revit modeling application, where I have already installed the BCF plugin, which you will find in the menu. From here, I can activate the manager, giving you this dialog with the connect option available. I will log in with the credentials of the structural engineer and connect to the site. If I have more projects, this will be in this drop-down list, but the project that I will be working on is now selected. From here, I can see that I don't have any issues yet. I haven't shared any of the issues so far, but if I want to raise an issue, I can simply use this plugin and communicate, for instance, about this balcony here. So let's just click on the plus sign to create an issue for this. I can also save the selection within the viewpoint next to the camera, of course, and give it a title. And maybe I want to report this as a sort of inquiry to the team's or the project's lead architect. I can also define some areas that I set as a project leader. So in this case, it will be design, phase, and structural. And I will just also create a comment like so. If I'm satisfied with my report, I can click on save. And this is now documented in the BCF manager. If I'm satisfied, I can share this with the rest of the team. Let's continue. The next step would be to coordinate and do some quality assurance on the model using a different tool. For this, I will be taking the role of a BIM coordinator. I want to have an overview of all models created, not a separate structural one, but a combination or a federation of BIM models. So I'll be setting up a combined model. I will also define some requirements checks. So BIM can have some requirements, maybe some values that you want to add, like fire rating or load bearing, or some classification codes that you will need in the process. You can also set some requirements checks up for this to see if they are missing. And of course, we can do some geometry checks like clash detection and set up some rule sets from there. If I run these rules, issues will be created from the results. And I can also already start to extract some of the data involved in the project so that people can already have a sort of influence on where the project is going and if it's feasible or not. And of course, I will be sharing this on the collaborative platform that BIMcollab is. And let's try this in a separate demo. I'm going to switch to our application BIMcollab Zoom. Of course, like with the different scenarios, if you have other tools already available, this can also be used in that process. But in this case, I will just first start to connect to my project. I can add separate models to combine into my federation and do my checks. With BIMcollab, you can also have a project folder where you can actually load these models automatically. So in this case, connecting to the project gives me my federation directly, and I can decide to load from a structured and synced folder directly. So of course, I have some tools to my disposal. I can zoom in, I can select elements, I can use the information that's inside of these models that were shared. I can look at some values that I feel are interesting. And of course, I can use all of the viewing tools like creating section planes to have a good understanding of conflicts within this particular structure. If I want to add more models, let's say from the discipline MEP, I can simply add them to this federation. And I can also use those models together to see if there are any conflicts between these two disciplines. So let's just refresh and have a look. So here you can see all of the elements that were now combined with the structural model. I can use the other visualization tools like section and section boxes or color coding. But I also have some requirements checks that I already prepared. So first, let me show you some of these smart views that we call them. They can be used to very quickly identify specific elements, isolate them in the view, and even auto-color them. I can do that also for multiple models like so. So this time I have color-coded all of the MEP elements by their system and have a contrasting color for the structural part. So this would also allow me to already identify some of the issues. Maybe the clearance between these two elements is not enough. I can document that in the view, or I can simply create an issue directly from this viewpoint. I can already directly assign this. So let's assign this to the responsible person, assign some labels to this. So this is a ventilation element. I can have a description, of course, and I can also save this directly from this application as a sort of manual issue. Zoom was already connected directly to the BIMcollab repository. So synchronizing this will also get the issues that were previously already created by the structural engineer from Revit. I have now added my own manual issue, and I can also run any of the requirements checks that I talked about earlier, like identifying elements without properties like fire rating or classifications. So let's create some more issues by running a class test. I have defined several rules here. I can create them locally on my own computer as a BIM coordinator. But if I want to share that to the team, I can also drag them to the project and run them directly from here. But in the process, also allow other team members to check their own models. I've made some checks. I can look at all the results now individually. So here is a wall and a slab who are clashing. I do have some viewpoints that I can use to identify if this is really a clash that I want to report. So the intersection volume is now shown. And if I run through these issues, I see that there are more related to this slab. So by selecting specific grouping parameters, I can combine multiple issues in or multiple clash results into one big issue. So I don't want to do them one by one. So for this part of the structure, I will create in bulk some of these clashes or issues and assign them to the correct modeler, in this case, the structural engineer. So the results are now also created on the issue panel. So I can have a look at this specific issue and how it's going to be visualized in other types of software. And if I'm satisfied, I can sync that and communicate that to the rest of the team. To finish up, I will also use our listing feature to share some of the key values. So I can set up some lists in this application. So you can see that there's a structured list of typical elements from the structural engineer. I can also drag these lists to the shared folder for other users to make use of this setup. So I can define the lists for other people to use. And I can also share the results directly from Zoom to the rest of the team, making it a sort of collaborative effort. So let's also go back to our models and add some of the architectural models to this review. I'm going to use the architectural models because there are some spaces and rooms attached to that model. And I want to use that to create a list of some of the key values for floor area and volumes. I have a very nice tool for this. We call this the pivot grid. And it's actually a tool where you can locate and find relationships. So let's just run this list. As you can see, I have now a list that groups together all different apartment types and specifies their build number below that. And I can have a drill down of any of these values now. So I can look at a space category, a specific space name, apartment type, or an apartment number, and see where it's located directly from this application. If I want to create issues for this, then I can also share them with the use of this list. And it's also very intuitive to find this and sort and find these relationships. So let's just rearrange this schedule by dragging these values from the columns to the rows. And now I have an overview per apartment type and which build numbers are related to this. Again, if you're satisfied, you can view this information directly from Zoom. but I can also share that with the rest of the team. Okay, going back to the next step, team collaboration. I'm not the only one working, so I have generated some of the results or the issues. I have made some lists for the team to have a look at, but there are, of course, some experts who have a very detailed opinion about any of those elements, and I want to involve them as well. So, looking at other stakeholders, they can, of course, use our web application. So, logging in to the platform and then viewing the issues that are assigned to them. They can also use the desktop Zoom application if they have that installed and have a look at the models themselves, even create issues when they need to. And we can also add an online model viewer for easy access to model information and also to understand our issues on our platform better. Besides that, we can also have information flowing from our platform directly to other platforms. So Power BI is an integration that we offer for free. The link to this can be downloaded from our website. If you also want to have a look at list, the web application would be your go-to choice. So a small presentation for this. Let's just log in as any of the stakeholders on the project. If I go to the dashboard, you see that in the background, issues were created, and they are now also available through the web portal. We also have an overview that you can view in either a column or an icon overview of all the running issues in the project. You can sort by columns, and of course, you can filter based on maybe a specific company or an individual in the project. Of course, you can combine different filters like categories, types, milestones, areas, assignments, etc. I also mentioned the online viewer integration. If I look at the settings for this project, I will be using BIM 360 Docs, but we offer more connections. So if your company or your project is run on Trimble Connect, then the same model viewing abilities apply. And you can access, or stakeholders can access it directly from the browser environment. You don't need to re-upload any of the model files. They can be directly streamed from the BIM 360 Docs environment for use on BIMcollab combined with the issues. So while the model is loading, you can see that all of these models that are come from BIM 360 are visible. The properties can be shown. You can navigate freely inside of this environment without the need of downloading these heavy files or installing any types of application. So if you want to review or have a look at specific elements, you can also hide and show different types of elements. And if you want to recreate any of the communicated issues, you can simply click on the viewpoint and have an understanding of what has been communicated here. If you for some reason want to add to this topic, you can simply use any of the issues here and edit the issue, maybe add a comment to a stakeholder, put in a notification, maybe to the lead architect, and save that out, and it's immediately available for everyone in the project. We even allow you to create your own issues. So if you use this application, you can also immediately create an issue directly from this environment. So creating a new issue will also bring that to the rest of the team. So I have an overview. I have the dashboard to see all the latest changes. I have the model to review, and the project coordinator or the BIM coordinator has also shared some of the key values. So the list is also available directly from this page. So I can see the overview of the list of columns from the structural engineer, the structural walls, and I can have a look at the areas that I created earlier. If I want to see which build numbers correspond to which type of building or apartment type, these numbers are also visible directly from here. We have now some issues. We have lists. We have stakeholders involved through the web app, Zoom, or online viewer, or the lists. We have the modelers connected. And The project leader can now also start coordinating these issues in a structured and streamlined way, tracking them in the process, creating reports for the team, analyze some of the results. So let's just review this. So on the issue page, as a BIM manager, I can filter very quickly. So I can say, well, let's just show all of the issues assigned to the structural engineering company, filter those out. I can also multi-select those, edit them, and give them more detailed instructions. So I can say, well, this is about the pre-construction phase. I can set the area. I can define the types, maybe even add some priority here. If I go back to the issue page, I can also have a look at the specific graphs, either for that specific company. I can have an overview of all team members in the project, who has the most issues, what is the process there, are there issues already resolved or closed. I can also track the efficiency or progress over time once the project is up and running. If I want to create reports, I can export this to a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet if that's needed. Users can also, of course, be invited on this project in the cloud to have an overview as well. All issues that you have seen here are actually part of our database. I also want to show you that an external integration can be very helpful. So let me just switch to this application. For those of you who are not familiar with this application, this is Microsoft's Power BI. You can create dashboards built on very intricate and elaborate data and visualize them in a dashboard that you can publish online. For this demo, I have made a connection between the database of my issues on the project and this page. So if I renew, the data is fetched anew, and this dashboard is filled with the information directly from the project. So it's a live link where you can see and visualize the information in any shape or form. You can even have a drill down to see what the structural engineer is working on, which issues. You can use different visuals to see how it impacts the spreading of issues. And of course, you can make every activity modification visible and also have a sort of count of all issues running at this particular moment in time. So we feel this is also very helpful because, as I said in the beginning, people are working on the project on multiple levels. Some are very heavy in the technical part using the BIM applications. Some just look at the quantities, and maybe a manager will look at these numbers in a more explanatory visual style. The last part that I want to share with you is about scalability. I think I already showed you that that BIMcollab can be applied to a very broad range of scenarios. So the chance that it's applicable to your own situation is very high, but it's also a very scalable system. As a company administrator who actually controls the BIMcollab setup, you have control over the users. You can designate specific roles, activate or deactivate some users if you need them or not. You can do some project management, having an overview. You can have account statistics to see and track all of the projects being run on BIMcollab, either being just a couple, 5 to 10, or 100 to 500 across an enterprise company. You also have a very direct access to your subscription settings. So if your usage of BIMcollab grows, you can just set it directly from your dashboard and it will be up and running the next day. And I also want to mention our on-premise installations. I think we are unique as a platform there, even though we feel that a cloud connection is the best way to go. Some highly sensitive projects might require a different setup. So we also allow a BIMcollab to be installed locally or on data centers. So just to give you a quick view on the administration part, as an administrator, I have limited access or the only access to this part of the structure or the account, sorry. As you can see, I have all my contact and billing info. I can also upgrade or downgrade my project if need to. I also have control over all my account settings. I have user management control, so I can designate who can log on and where. If I click on any one of these issues, I can also see which projects that they are working on, when they last logged in, etc. And also for our enterprise users, we have these very elaborate statistics where you can see by department or division all of the usage, the projects that you run on BIMcollab, making it a very scalable solution from one project to 1,000 projects in parallel. And of course, everything is highly secure with encrypted logins, etc. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a software as a service. This also allows you to step in for free, but it's not upgradable. If you want to start in a streamlined fashion, we advise to use one of our subscriptions because you can upgrade and scale up very quickly if the need arises. So we have different types of workflows. You can add more users to collaborate with, but you can also add more functionality if your usage of BIMcollab grows. So all in all, a quick summary: streamlined approach based on open BIM standards. Documenting issues becomes a part of the process. So there's no hours spent on creating Excel documents anymore. It's just a matter of exporting them or not creating them at all because the workflow already explains everything. You will find that it engages teams better because everyone has an overview and can interact and has a voice. We also want to include as many stakeholders as possible because every experience and knowledge counts, of course. This will also lead to a faster time to resolution for some of the challenges. And you have a structured approach with our validation tools about the model quality, up-to-date projects for multiple levels, and you have better control over progress and the end results. We feel that because of our open nature, it's a very easy transition. You can just upgrade your current processes with BIMcollab and start working today. And like I mentioned earlier, it's highly scalable, moving from small usage to very intensive use very quickly and structured. In conclusion, BIMcollab can be a great help for your BIM execution process, making the quality of BIM higher, the project results also more under control, getting more overview, involving different levels of people working on the project. And if you want to experience this yourself for your next project, of course, you can order it directly from our website. If you want to have a more personalized session, we can also explore the benefit for your organization together. We have multiple colleagues that can assist. With that being said, I would like to thank everyone for their attention. I hope you find it very useful, and I hope to see you on BIMcollab for your next project. I also still want to mention this. As a global company, we have multiple partners worldwide, from New Zealand to Vietnam, Uruguay, Spain, and France. So please check our website for your local reseller. They can also help you in your local language and make the conversation maybe a little bit easier. If you want to talk to us directly, we're also always available. That really concludes this presentation, and I wish you all a very good rest of the day, and thank you for your attendance. Thank you very much.